Good afternoon, everybody. Perhaps late good morning, depending on where you are in this great country. Welcome in to this teeny tiny minuscule Thursday edition of the Establish the Run NBA DFS Injury Analysis Show. I am your new Thursday host, Gary Hartman, joined, of course, with the best in breaking down all injury and rotation news in the business, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, woke up at like 5:30 this morning. So I knew we got this monster on for tomorrow. Everyone except for the Spurs and Bucks playing tomorrow. So
Wow.
yeah, a lot of pressers to hit that we all got done. Got most of my macro notes done in a really good spot. So perhaps sneaking a hike in after the show. And also very hungry. I haven't eaten anything because it's grind time. Those big slates, man, they're really tough, but in a pretty good spot.
Well, we will make this a fast one for you. And because it's only two games. So 2 games, as you mentioned, 14 tomorrow. So gear up, strap in. Tomorrow we'll have everything for you. For now, a doubleheader TNT night with only one team on the back-to-back, on the second night of a back-to-back, and we'll start there with the Milwaukee Bucks. So much to the surprise of you and me and most of our team.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton, not at all listed on the injury report, as he's been managed usually in these situations on back-to-backs. In fact, nothing major on their injury report other than Jay Crowder still out and the G League guys are out. So do you expect anyone to be managed here for Milwaukee, or what else can we expect, as they are pretty big favorites in San Antonio tonight?
Yeah, quite stunning to see Middleton not listed. That was, and the line even moved because I was prepared to possibly see some rest here. We know the NBA doesn't like to see rest, and should note, Drew Dinkmeyer and I, we recorded a podcast about the Mikal stuff, and I think you guys are gonna really like it. It was, you guys know I have a pretty unique skill set for knowing injury stuff, and Dink's just insanely sharp. So you guys are gonna like it. So that'll be on the pod feed, on the YouTube feed too. It should be on here pretty quick. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys aren't gonna expect what we're gonna be talking about there. But yeah, so let's talk about this. So again, kind of what I was hinting at, Adrian Griffin had a quote like, "Oh, we want to look at some new pieces to the rotation." They kind of like trimmed some guys down. They didn't have AJ Green yesterday, I should mention, for a nasal injury. He's not listed today, so he's available. So yeah, I'm a little unsure. We saw Marshawn Beauchamp kind of take the bull by the horns a little bit to get some minutes up there, but and to be perfectly honest, like, I don't believe them. Like, I think I'm like ready. I'm like ready for something to happen out of the blue because this is just so stunning to me. We saw this. We talked about this yesterday. That like, hey, this magic thing. Like, what's going on here? This makes no sense with these injuries, which we'll talk a lot about tomorrow. But they popped Cole Anthony on there, and then we found out he was dealing with this thing for a few games, according to Jamal Mosley. But anyways, yeah, so definitely on alert. But take them at their word for now. Expect the same starting lineup. Bobby Portis is meant to be secure. I think Beauchamp's in there, Connaughton, Andre, and I think that's kind of where they're at. But again, that wording from Adrian Griffin about looking at new players did catch me by surprise a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the most Milwaukee thing ever if in an hour or two we get a complete change of heart or something right before the game. But for now, we'll take them at their word. Obviously, behind the paywall, you can trust our projections there if anything changes. But hard to kind of break down a situation that doesn't seem like a reality right now, as no one else is on the injury report. Other side of this game, still a lot going on with San Antonio on their injury report. Zach Collins remains out. Doug McDermott is out tonight. Malachi Branham is doubtful. So 3 rotation pieces there are down. The G League guys also listed as out, except I guess 2 of them. Barlow is questionable, and Diakite is also questionable. So I'll throw it to you wherever you want to go on what to expect out of San Antonio here.
Yeah, let's start with the headline here. Trey Jones had revealed he is going to start today in Malachi Branham's spot. So that means we should get the other 4 starters the same, leaving us a starting lineup of Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Champagny, Sohan, and Victor Wembanyama. And I feel pretty confident that Blake Wesley will be the backup point guard here. Commentary from Pop saying that he looks like a different player. We've seen him kind of pop in here and there. He had a pretty good run last game after the Branham injury. So I'm pretty confident that Blake Wesley is going to get the lion's share. We're talking about 11-point spread here. you kind of get where I'm going here with Blake Wesley likely getting the garbage time. I think that's something we're going to be talking about for sure on the DFS show there. And then the other two players that he mentioned, actually, let me go to Wemby next. So Wemby, according to Pop, he said, quote, 24 is the deal. And they went a little bit over it. So they are shooting for 24 until further notice. He could go over it a little bit here and there. It's not a hard 24 like Chris Middleton earlier in the year where they like literally would call timeout at the first chance they get to get him out of the game. So it's not like that kind of a hard cap, but they're going to take him out at 24 minutes or around there. So that's important to note in this spot. Matchup's terrible for him. So it's his birthday. I should also mention too, for those who like the birthday narratives. He's I think like 14 years old now or something. He's like the new Tatum. But yeah. And then other than that, we also don't have Doug McDermott. So that creates some front court depth issues. So I think guys like Champagne's minute ceiling is way better here. Getting some spacing. He's not having to deal with that. I think that's kind of important to note. And then Dominic Barlow. So there are three players who Pop mentioned who are going to benefit from minutes from these injuries. Mentioned Blake Wesley, mentioned Champagne, and then Dominic Barlow, who is usually more of a 5, but he played a lot of minutes next to Wembanyama in the preseason. And I was kind of like thinking he could make a charge for rotation minutes kind of sooner rather than later. And we saw him kind of leapfrog Sandro Mamakashvili somewhat surprisingly. We talked about that on the injury show and how that was a little bit of a risk and may have been worth taking with the cheap tag on Sandro. But yeah, so I feel pretty good. Those guys are going to benefit. Trey Jones minutes, not quite sure because they're going to want to play Wesley. So I don't think he's going to have the upper, mid 30s. So we got him at 28 with some garbage there overall. But yeah, that's kind of I think that's mostly covers the deal. We do have a garbage time baked in here. So we took some minutes off to sell Keldon and those guys.
So are you expecting Barlow to be in then with that Q tag?
We got Barlow pretty strong. We got him pretty strong because he's getting a Q tag for the G League. I could check really quick, but I think that they didn't play for G League. Yeah, I could check that real quick if you wanted to. Did you have anything to add while I looked it up?
No, all I was going to say is on the Wemby front, I think it's quite a flexible 24. And I know Dink kind of broke it down the other day on the show that he expects us to kind of keep ramping up. Shout out to us. We landed on 25.5 minutes on Tuesday there. So we kind of nailed that one. But, I know Pop wants him to be around 24. I think if these games are close, he'd get it up to 26, 27, 28. So it's not, I agree. It's not the same as the Middleton injury, although clearly they're going to limit him, just on the DFS front, since I'm not on the show later. Certainly we know that he can put up huge numbers in these limited minutes. Now, obviously a tough matchup, but birthday narrative, etc. So.
Yeah, that's a fake questionable tag. The Austin Spurs have a back-to-back in Ontario, California, not Canada, that we talked about last time. So, yeah, they didn't send him there. They're not going to freaking fly him to California when they are shorthanded in the front court. And they just had another front court injury. So, yeah, he's going to be in there for sure.
All right, nice. Let's go to the late game, the Western out west in Golden State. We'll start on the road team with Denver. Pretty clean here, and Reggie Jackson probable. Everything else pretty clean. You have any rotation notes on Denver here?
Yeah, let's just talk about health. They're in a good spot here. Aaron Gordon back. I'm not going to make a dog joke. As Brody's getting some sunshine right now. But yeah, pretty good spot. Michael Malone said that this is kind of they're like a good place, health and mental wise. So expecting pretty full minutes and a pretty big game on the front end of a back-to-back. So we could see pretty strong minutes out of Jamal Murray. We've seen Kentavious Caldwell-Pope really get his minutes tick up, played 37 minutes in the last game against the Warriors. We know they really like him for that Steph matchup to take away space from him. So him looking good. Gordon looking at pretty decent minutes, came back pretty normal from the time away from the team. And, I think he's able to ramp up pretty quick. We could see him getting a little bit more. And then we'll see the secondary guys get ticked down a little bit. Christian Brown kind of could be okay. Julian Strawther's minutes could come down a little bit. This is more of a Zeke Naji spot for center, right? We know teams like to have the switch heavy stuff against the Warriors. So maybe Zeke Naji could kind of come back to life there. But yeah, I could see pretty condensed minutes, even though this is the front end of a back-to-back. Should mention Reggie Jackson was the only player that Michael Malone mentioned was dinged up. So I think there's a chance that Reggie could sit tomorrow against what should be a really short-handed Magic team. But yeah, other than that, pretty much good to go. And I'm like kind of want to fire at this. Like I kind of want to take Denver -3.5. I haven't done it yet, but I don't know. I think Denver matches up really well with the Warriors right now with the way the Warriors are playing.
Yeah, I was about to mention the spread, only 3.5 here.
Yeah.
235.5 over under. So the early game certainly has the better over under. That's a 248.5, but serious blowout risk there. I definitely hear what you're saying on the Denver front. I always get a little scared of betting against Golden State at home. But Denver, I do think matches up well. I would agree. All right, let's hit the Golden State side and we will get out of here. Not much to add. I just saw some sort of news on Draymond Green or some sort of tweet. I don't know if you have anything there. So Draymond Green and Gary Payton still out here.
Yeah, let's talk Draymond since it was just tweeted by Woj. He's going to be at team facilities and starting to ramp up here. So yeah, he'll still miss some time, but nice to see Draymond's kind of coming back. I don't really think there's too much to add there. Right. But Gary Payton, man, that's a tough blow. The guy just gets back from injury and he's going to be out for a long period of time. God, man, he just runs so crappy, man. The guy just can't stay on the court. So that's tough. That'll get Moses Moody back in the mix, I would think. Steve Kerr has talked about whether if he wants to go 8 to 10. We know he doesn't really love to play that 11-man stuff, but he does it all the time because he's always searching. We see so many times, namely the Kuminga Blazers game when they like pulled him out in the third quarter and like, hey, we're going to play you in the rotation. But yeah, so that's something to cover. Kevon Looney, really strong game from him. Did get some closing minutes, which is pretty rare. So that kind of cut into Trace Jackson Davis a little bit, cut into Dario Saric a little bit. They're really fluid, right? Like we know they're going to want to play bigger. And Steve Kerr did mention he's kind of like married to this new starting lineup. Is he flexible now that Kevon Looney, who's usually shown he's a guy that he want to lean in on the Sabonis and the Jokic kinds of matchups there. So I think this is kind of not a great spot for Trace Jackson Davis. Denver also rebounds pretty well, so matchup wise, it's not quite good for him. But that's mostly it. Steph, great game from him. 36 minutes, been pretty strong. Coming along. The handling role is still down next to Chris Paul. And then we got to mention Jonathan Kuminga. My guy gets 34 minutes, had one of his best games offensively. A lot of commentary from Steve Kerr pretty routinely about getting rim pressure from Kuminga. And he says he's like the only, which we've been talking about this for a year. And, usually whenever they have a bad matchup, or a good matchup, I should say, against a bad rim defense, I'm like, hey, Kuminga day, especially when he's cheaper. But yeah, I expect him to be a pretty big part of the mix. Defensive assignments are pretty tricky. I think that the Wiggins is usually where they want to go, but I think Kuminga could pick up the Jamal Murray assignment. It could look really bad because you're asking a team that's very, very pick and roll centric when Jamal Murray's running it. And you're asking Kuminga to switch out of it with this big. It sounds nasty. So I think Kuminga has like a really, really, really wide range of outcomes.
Yeah, I am here for the Kuminga leap, breakout, whatever you want to call it. Always been a fan of his game, and Golden State just needs that spark in the worst way. So should be a fun one. Warriors just need to win as many games as they can. And as I said, obviously, great matchup with the champs. The only thing I wanted to ask you, and it sounded like you answered the question, there's no way they bring Looney back in here to the starters to match up with Jokic off the bat. Yeah, because, I know Kerr made that comment.
Could. Yeah, I think they could. Yeah. He changes his mind pretty quick. And again, Looney just played one of his best games he played in months. So maybe not months, but you kind of get my point there. So I again, certainly expecting Trace Jackson Davis to start, but there's paths to, and I haven't looked at the Warriors minutes yet, but as someone who's been trying to push, so for me, when it comes to Looney minutes, the matchup to me matters so much. And the matchup is one of the, like I mentioned, the two guys, I think Embiid maybe, but I think the two guys who operate out of the post, like closer to the basket, and like Sabonis is a little bit different, but my point still stands. Like I think Looney's minutes have a higher minute ceiling here, so it's going to be, and like whereas he's playing teams who are really floor space and all that kind of stuff, he could crater in like a single digit kind of a way. So, but yeah, I do expect him to start the same. We got to take Kerr at his word for now.
Yeah, I would imagine they just want to have a body to throw there at Jokic instead of starting small. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, I think that will do it. Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow.
Actually, one thing to add, I think Ryan
ahead.
put the pod that I just talked about on YouTube. So if you want to check out our thoughts with Mikal and let me just double check that. We talked Mikal, we talked OKC, and I had some. We had a really good conversation about the Lakers. That's obviously big news right now. So
big news.
Yeah, definitely had to promote the pod real quick. Actually, it's up. Sorry, to be uploading in like 15 to 20. So yeah, be on look on that on YouTube, and then Luke will have it up on the pod feeds for you guys later. It was really cool. Just it was really good. So and again, I think you guys aren't gonna. I don't know anyone who's gonna kind of have this kind of analysis on the Mikel stuff, given that my obsession with injuries and then just dinking.
Well, right, of course. I'll be listening then by 3:00 or so, whenever Eastern, whenever it's up, and I'll use that to kind of catapult on the plug for the YouTube channel in general. Obviously, we have a goal here to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but we are putting up the podcast now on the YouTube page. Please do send to your friends. If you have NBA fan friends, I promise you they will not get more in-depth analysis, whether it's on this show that you watch every day at 2 for free or on the podcast stuff. Please send around. We really would appreciate the links, the YouTube links. That stuff helps a ton. And please do give this video a like, however you may please, as Dink would say. However you want to press that button, go ahead and do it. And of course, everything we have going on behind the paywall, both on the prop side and the DFS side. I think we're about 40% of the way through the rest of the season. We just got the first all-star ballot report today. We have a ton of roadway left ahead. NFL is coming to an end. If you're looking for something to fill that void as that ends, check out everything we have going on behind the paywall at establishtheRun.com/subscribe-MBA. Gallagher and Dink will be behind the paywall for you at 5:00 Eastern to break down all the DFS angles, top plays, contrarian plays, leverage plays on this small 2-game slate. And then, of course, we'll be back on this YouTube page tomorrow, 2:00. Is Fan joining you tomorrow, Mike?
I haven't found out yet. We don't know where in the world he is. He's a bit of a globetrotter right now, but
nice.
Yeah, hopefully he's usually in. So pending underdog pulling him away or the traveling Justin Fan, we should have him on there for. Are we shooting for 2 hours tomorrow? I don't know, because it's what a slate, man. We're gonna have to cut teams out. Like, that's just the way it is. So you won't get the full on rotation bets on every team. There's just no way we can make it fit in under an hour and a half.
Yeah, I do think the over-under is 90 minutes for sure. All right, so catch at least Mike and Dink back here for free tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern. Hopefully Justin Fan will be joining them as well. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you again tonight behind the paywall or tomorrow on this page. Best of luck, everybody.